Hello and welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. This is your host, Captain Kibs, signing on for a early morning update. Now, I know it's been a while since we've done an update talking about too much, but I've been very, very busy with the holidays and all that, and a lot of other personal stuff going on. Glad, look at me, a little still waking up, but actually, that's a lie. I've been up for a few hours working, but that's besides the point. Figured we'd make a video. We haven't talked about the game in a while, and we've been working very, very hard. And thanks to all of you for all the support you've given us thus far as we continue to march ever forward. We've come very, very far. So I've decided that we'll show off some early concept art, some things you haven't seen before. This one concept as well. We are just experimenting with banners, by the way, and different types of flag archetypes. These are just placeholders, by the way, not actual canon. We will be supplementing these with actual flags, but they were just part of the tests because we're actually in the process of putting in city banners, house flags, imperial flags, and different banners for soldiers into the catalog of concept art as we build the different sigils for the different crests and all that for like the various houses, empires, kingdoms, and even cities or city-states. So it's very interesting, very interesting. A lot of research has been going on, and it's very exciting, and I can't wait to see this stuff in the actual sprite work and the actual tile map that we've been building. So yeah, we'll be talking about a couple things here, but first thing I want to talk about is let's talk about a little bit about character design, because we don't really talk too much about it, but I figured let's do a video talking about some character design and how the character design for our game kind of works and how it sort of like puts together. So when we start with a character, normally we start pretty simple. Like we start as a writing team, we write up a character, and we're like, okay, so we need a character for, let's say, I'll use a farm as an example. We need a character for like a farmer character, right? All right, well, let's say, he needs to have a certain hairstyle or this based on the culture he's from. So we do a little bit of research and background checking, send off what we kind of want to the artist, and then they come back with this different variations of hairstyle here. So you can see here was the process of elimination. Now we had a preliminary artist do like a way advanced concept sketch of this, and then we had to redo it in Sal's art style. So sometimes we have additional arts, we have to change it to break back into the formula. It's a bit time consuming, but it's good to make sure that the style matches. And here you can just see sort of the design process behind Celeste, one of our characters. And she's been very popular, so I figured if people like her so much, we'll use her as an example, though this is not going to tell anything about the character. We're going to leave that under wraps. Here's another further advanced concept, as we had here committed to the hairstyle. I believe it was number 3. Yes, number 3, definitely. It just popped. It really fit the character and her personality. Can't go further into detail with that. And then we went into outfit design, different various outfits. Some characters have multiple different outfits. Rhea, Ian, Nezra, Waylon, a bunch of others. I can't say the names right now that are in design process, have multiple variations. So unlike some of the soldiers or generic sprites, they get more work and attention to detail. Here you can see as we're beginning to refine it and add more elements to the design. Some is beginning to take different lower elements, which is, well, I'm not going to talk too much about this in specific design, but you can see the process as we just continue to work it out until we finally get to the actual committed design here. And when we're like, okay, this is definitely what we want to go for. Like, it takes a while. It takes sometimes a month or about a month to get a character done, or a month and a half. Or no, sorry, not a month and a half a month. Sometimes if it's really bad, sometimes it takes a while. Like, characters are very, very important to us because our game is very centric in characters. As you all know, it's a role-playing game. We'll talk more about the gameplay aspects in this video, but I figured let's make a video talking about the game as well. So it's going to be kind of a big video today. But one of the things I want to show off is just a lot of the concept art as we build the world of Terrestira, and we start with the nation that is the Astrian Empire, which is the starting point of the game, and then we explore the world further on. So you can see different classes and archetypes of character designs here, thanks to provided by Carlos. The other art you saw before was provided by our lead concept character artist, Sala. This is our concept artist, Carlos. Fantastic little lad. Blacksmith, just different types, so we can just see what kind of, the world is populated with like different characters, because you have different classes and all sorts of stuff, like, middle class, poor class, nobles, priests, etc. But it's very interesting. As you build the world, you do a lot of research on other societies and cultures, and you realize, okay, well, why do they have hats like that? Like the, I think, is it the Crete hat, or is it Cyprus? They have that big floofy hat in, like, antiquity. And so there's, like, that's not necessarily the same, but we came up with different reasons to have different things. And this is just kind of the experimentation here. Carlos and his love for big mustaches. Let it be known that he likes his mustaches. We've been working on monsters for the game. You've seen some of them, but we kind of keep the monsters and more mythic aspects of the game under wraps, because that's more of the further down the line stuff. But I figured we'd show it because we showed the sprites off before. We're making a lot of headway, but we have a long way to go still as we develop other cultures and nations and societies, all, of course, of which have been scattered across the globe, so to speak. Various characters coming together. One thing I do want to say, though, is another thank you as we come to the year's close. Thanks to you guys, we've been able to finance the game above normal expectations as usual. It's been a great year for the development of Legends of Terrestira. The game is coming along fantastically. Code's coming along, art's coming along. We're still steaming along pretty good. I will make a brief notion. Here you can see Celeste. This is her sprite. Oops, wrong keyboard. So many because I have so many more computers. But there you can see her sprite. So you can kind of do a side-by-side so you can kind of take a look at that. By the way, shout out to our friend Cashew and our lead animator, Cashew. He is the one who handles the sprites, and he actually animates on Twitch. I will drop a link in the description for his Twitch. We'll open it up so I can show you where it is. And you can take a look at it for yourself. And he streams, I think, twice a week. He streams all week, by the way, but he streams before we do. He streams our sprite creation. He's currently working right now on one of our sprites. We'll actually jump into the stream and take a look at that. Here you can see some more sprite work. These are idols. These are very early idols, not too far in. There's a lot more work that goes into them, like things like blinking and stuff like that. But you can also find more information and details in our Discord. A lot of people ask me what the game's about, how the game works. It's always difficult because it's like, normally we tell people, like, a lot of it we can't wait, but some people know more than others based on information we've actually shared. So the game that we have in question, here you can see our beautiful tile set. This is an older variant. It's even better than this right now. It's every time we share this thing, like, it's even better. Like, this thing's massive. There's a pretty big river off to the right there and a bridge, and there's like some grass stuff over there as well. Like, it's big. There's like even a big banner up there. But that's the other variants. We'll show those off in the future. By the way, if you do join our Discord server, you can actually see a lot more. Link is in the description. You can also ask questions there. But I'll talk briefly about the game and the gameplay because we get a lot of questions about it. So there's two big aspects of the game that we're working on programmatically right now. The first big aspect that we're actually working on right now in terms of code is the combat build. The combat build is basically the combat of the game. Now, how does combat work in Mixer's Legends of Terrestria? Well, it operates on a turn-based grid. So this grid, basically this grid will appear here. Like, just imagine like little squares like this right here where she's standing. It would be a square. And it's a tactical role-playing game, so you have different characters who have different powers and abilities, and it's all about having control over the map and basically eliminating your opponents or whatever the objective is. I can't go into too much detail yet because we got to keep some of the stuff under wraps. But you move your characters around the combat zone, and you cycle between turns between the AI and yourself until you essentially win. That's just the most basic form of it. There's different things, different classes, and different powers and spells and unique abilities. Like here you can see Rhea in her outfit right here, and very little armor, which will be definitely a problem for archers because, not having any armor besides one armored gauntlet and having an unprotected body is just, it doesn't work out too well. And so we'll be factoring that into the actual gameplay. into the stats, because certain characters with armor will actually perform way better at tanking, and that balances out the mages versus the more heavily armored soldiers who can take a beating and can actually stay in confrontation much longer. People always ask, like, why is Rhea so unarmored? Well, I can't talk too much because it's actually there's a few reasons about that, but it's actually some stuff we got to keep under wraps. But there will be other variants as well. Now, as far as the characters go, like when you get equipment and stuff, we'll talk about that later. But as far as combat goes, you can go inside buildings. There's different elevations, and they'll have different advantages. There's fog of war and other aspects that you're kind of used to. Some terrain might have different advantages for certain reasons. Yeah, I don't have the specifics worked out, but yeah, I'll let your imagination guess, like water. Like, okay, what can water do? Let's think about that for just a second. Could a spell with maybe lightning affect water, or would that not do anything? Would it instead be like a fireball? Would that create some sort of superheated steam? Who knows? Who knows? But these are just things I'm throwing out there for speculation. I do love how this variant of the tile map, this is before the color palette got a little bit changed. It's a lot more gray. So that one has yet to been updated yet. But that's okay. It's always cool. It's always cool to see the progress. I wish you guys could see, like, as it happened more often, but we try to share as much as we can on the Discord as well. We'll try to make a better habit of posting it more. We post occasionally on the Reddit. Normally it's like big dumps, but I don't know. The Reddit's just more like a depository of just stuff for now. But as far as the combat build goes, that kind of is everything. Now, there's other things that tie into the game's role-playing aspects or the RPG mechanics. Basically, the progression system is what it should be called, because that's what it is. Has had to be described because we're not quite finished on the... we're not quite finished with the presentation of it. Like, fundamentally, mechanically, it's quite simple. It's nothing going to blow you out of the water, but it's in there. It's on the list of things. So there's a lot of presentation stuff and user interface elements that need to be finished designing. One thing that, thanks to one of our new programmers, Discordia, and she's done a fantastic job of really smashing out this awesome UI design that we've worked on for quite a while. And she managed to put it together, and it's pretty awesome. Like, you can move windows around, you can do all sorts of things. You can slide abilities from the quote-unquote placeholder spell book into your spell slots and ability slots. It is fantastic. I am so happy and so proud of that. It's just amazing. I can't wait till one day show you guys. But it's very, what's the word, rough to look at, because it has no art assets. We're not going to do any art for the UI until we're done, because that'd be a huge waste of our artist time and a huge waste of money, only to have to redesign the UI again. But the UI version 4 is just... UI v4 has got to be one of the biggest things, I think, this year, besides, like, the improvements to the combat's movement and obstacles and stuff. The AI, don't know. Last time I played the build, the AI acts weird around obstacles. But his little brain will grow as we add more stuff for the AI to do. Tyler's been doing a fantastic job of making our AI smart. It's interesting to see the AI go from just, like, a little simple thing that just follows you around to being able to, like, I'm going to go around something. It's like, oh, baby steps. He can do it, little guy. Oh, it's so cool. But, yeah, we're making fantastic progress. All the programmers are doing a fantastic job with that. Once the combat build is done, though, that's when we're going to probably show off the combat build. We're going to give it art assets and cover it up. I'm not going to give any hard times yet, because again, you guys know my policy. It'll be done when it's done. It'll be done right, because this is my passion project. This is my dream. Yes, I'm investing tons of money into it, but, like, I want to make a really good game, and I want to take as long as I need to in order to do it right. This is the first game I've ever, made. And for a lot of other team members, it's also their first, like, video game project. So, and we have some veteran staff, thankfully, which have been able to give us some fantastic tips and pointers on, avoiding some early novice mistakes, which has saved us so much time. And thanks to a lot of feedback we get from you guys, it's able to give us some good critique and criticism on certain aspects. There's not too much to critique just yet, but it's always handy to have you guys pop into the Mixer's Legends of Terrestria Discord and, spot something on a character that just doesn't quite look right. Maybe a small detail that we kind of made a mistake on. That actually hasn't happened yet, but I imagine it will. So, just keep an eye out. keep an eye out, because, you know, if you spot something, you see something, feel free to say something. Like, for example, this little tile here. Was fine, though. I remember when he posted that, he's like, oh, the tile's not done, but whatever. It's like, yeah, it's on the list of things to do. A lot of things to do. So many things. Like, I remember the roads before they actually had dirt in them. It was a little too clean, so we had to go like, okay, we need to add some more dirt to it, make it a little more dirty. And it's like, okay, now it's too brown. Let's, you know, when you look at more ancient roads and stuff, like where people track, like where do they walk? Like, okay, a lot of movement down this street right here, but you know where these little curbs are? Well, not too many people put their feet there. So plants, you know, would actually start to grow there in certain areas of the rocks where they weren't tread upon too much. Different variations in tiles. You'll notice if you actually look closely, all the detail in this is insane. It's still a work in progress, so a lot's changing, but like, each square is different than the other in some minor variant, or it has different cracks, like this chip bit here, this crack right there. There's a lot of stuff, and some pebbles there. It's insane the amount of detail to give it all that unique flavor, to make it feel lived in. That was the goal, because we wanted our world to feel lived in, because this is a city. This map is just a test map, but this culture, this group that it's actually based in is the not Terrestrian, sorry. They're all Terrestrian. The Astrian culture group, specifically Southern Astrian, because there's different subcultures in some of the larger nations, right? Based on their surroundings, they have different access to resources. This is more of the lore side of things when we wrote it. So it's like, okay, what kind of mud or clay do they have access to? What kind of stone? In the north, they have very different sort of architecture and clothing, because unlike the Southerners, it's not nearly as warm. It's actually a lot colder. So you'll see a lot more fur and a lot more use of this strange thing called pants. Absolutely barbaric, if you ask me. But, yeah, and you'll see different cultures and different values there. But this has been one hell of a journey. One hell of a journey indeed. Researching this, making this has been a dream come true, actually. And I'm absolutely blessed. I'm not a religious man, but I am blessed by the team we have. It is incredible. It is absolutely incredible. But other than that, like, we've been making some pretty solid progress. Sal made a little Christmas card, as he always does. This one's a little bit more tame, not so lewd. They got Aya and Celeste there. Celeste is one of the new characters that seem to pique people's interest. It's interesting. What characters grab people's attentions. Cash really does a fantastic job with fabric and pixel art. It is insane. Like, it always astonishes me, his fabric work. He may not like doing fabric, but by God, he's fantastic at it. Absolutely. But yes, we've been making an absolute ton amount of progress. I keep getting sidetracked because there's so much I want to tell you guys, but there's, like, I just can't keep focused almost. So the combat build, right? There's the other side. So once the combat build's done, the next big build, this is the really big one, is going to be, basically segment of the game, is the Overworld, is what we're calling it. That's basically where you traverse the map, because when you play the game, let's say you're playing as Rhea here, and you walk over to some guy right here, and you trigger a dialogue conversation, which causes a combat confrontation. This is the same map that is used in the Overworld as well as the combat. So you traverse these zones or areas, I guess we could call them zones for now, and you basically meet and talk with different characters, do quests, and do combat on the same things. Though, once combat is triggered, a grid, basically deployment zone, is activated, is how we have it now, and you can deploy your characters as need be. Our party current set is actually lifted to unlimited. Not that we're going to actually have unlimited, but it's just mostly for testing purposes. Currently, we only have one character in the game at the moment. It's funny because we have Rhea's portraits done, but we have a placeholder. And the current build that I play tested, it still has this, like, I drew an Aerith mock-up a long time ago, and we've been using that as a placeholder. It used to be me with a stick way, like, earlier before that. It was funny. I don't know if that's still in the code, but if you ever find it, it's like some fucking dude with a basket on his head and a stick, and he's like glaring at the camera like he's gonna attack it, like he's in a combat pose. That was me, by the way. I hope that's not in there. but that was me. We needed a placeholder, and so sometimes you got to get something together while the artists are working. So you just got to find something and slam it in there so you can keep going. But I'm very happy with today's, or the progress we've had this year. Today's progress. Today we had actually a lot of good things, but I can't talk about those yet. Actually, I can't talk about those for a while. No, actually, there's one thing I can actually mention. We were working on the banners and a lot of things. I can mention that. Actually, okay, I can talk about that too. I have to think about it for a sec. Another thing we've been working on is Storyboard. I can't show you that. It's so cool, though. This is the coolest thing of the entire amount of stuff that we've done. One of the coolest things, in my opinion, and I can't show you it. It hurts me. If anyone knows what a storyboard looks like, it's just a series of scenes with different characters, like a little box here, and then like a bunch of characters, and then the next box with the next scene by scene, because we were working on the cutscene template our game operates with. Because sometimes when there's big story events that happen in the game, some story events that are more linear, some are more player decision-based, it really depends on the situation, but they give you different, like, illustrations. These illustrations are massive pieces. Basically like this. This is was actually used as a placeholder for one of those cutscenes. Like this would be like, let's say you were introduced to this character, Aerith, right? And she so happened to be like in this weird priestess outfit. Not saying that's canon, by the way. This was actually a test commission for Sal, actually, when we were hiring him. And this was one of his test commissions before he actually ended up getting on the project. Actually, this is the test commission that got him on the project. It was fantastic. And what's hilarious is I was like, yeah, it doesn't need to have too much detail. And then he gave me this. This beautiful illustration. Fantastic work. But basically, the cutscenes operate with illustrations like this. And they slide from different illustration to different illustration. All sorts of stuff. And so basically, that's kind of how it works, scene by scene. It's like you're making a movie almost. And so that's how we kind of are planning to do the cutscenes. Some of the cutscenes are done with sprites, because we're planning on doing some minor stuff, like a character sits down in a chair. They normally don't, like, you have a unique animation for just that cutscene. Some unique stuff for that. It really depends on how important it is. Do we need, like, 20 pieces of illustrations for this huge story event of a character betraying another character, or this, big epic, like, confrontation sort of situation. It really depends on the story relevance. I don't know why, but those stars bother me. I don't know why. But that's kind of how that's going to go down. But yeah, in the case of the Overworld's when we're going to add more stuff and functionality to like your inventory. It'll still use the same user interface UIv4, but some of the UIv4 elements might not be as prevalent, like the action bar, for example. You might be more interested in the quest, the utility tab, because we have two bars. There's the action bar, and then there's the utility bar. The utility bar has your utility functions like inventory management, character management, and stuff like that. I mean, you have to go to your party camp for dealing with, like, swapping out other characters and stuff. Generally, though, how I plan to have it, instead of having, like, all... Because currently the test number I want to try is 6 party members. We're only going to have 2 equipped at a time. So, like, at the moment, I guess, kind of like Mass Effect. That's a good example. When you walk around, there's, like, 2 other people following you around that you can pick. So it's like Rhea, Aya, and Nezra, right? And those 2 people, how I have it planned right now, they're going to, like, partake in the dialogue, and they might add something to it or open up a new option, just to give some sort of interesting character push, because we really want character centrism in here, because companions and characters they've always been, in my opinion, more important than anything else, because it's what ties you to a world, your characters, your companions. That's also why I actually leaned against, it was strange, because when the original design, you actually had this character that was a blank slate. That was the player character. And then I don't know, over time I realized that having a generic blank character just come into the world kind of felt like the character had no past, had no connection to it. And while I could make a connection in past, like, then it's like, okay, well, then you make a pre-scripted character. And I actually leaned away for that because I want to build the world And I think the best way to do that is to have a pre-scripted character, which is why Rhea became our female lead. We have a male lead. I'm not going to say who right now, but we have a male lead character as well. So you can get connected to the world and the characters. That way there's a better dynamic. That's why Rhea has, like, we have her father, Emperor Chondrius. We have her mother, Syra, who's also named after the sun, funnily enough. We have Aya, Nezra, and her sisters, and Captain Tiano, who's like kind of like an uncle to her, and her uncle, Nidus. They have all these characters, and these characters have relationships, so you can see these characters already have a connection to the world, and then you get to influence that story and that connection as the world goes on. It's going to be interesting how much we can do with that, because I'm always experimenting with dialogue. Dialogue is the one thing that's up in the air still. Like, that's got a lot of work to do. I've got a lot more to do. I was originally thinking, like, yeah, it'll be kind of like the old school Fallout where it's like a big giant list of options. But then I realized real quickly that's like, okay, how many of those options actually have choice, and how many of those options are just kind of pointless flavor? Some of the flavor stuff we want to keep, but it's like, okay, we got to make sure that a lot of the options that we actually do have, maybe we should not waste so much time writing 30 billion different dialogue options, and rather focus our writing on the decisions that actually do carry weight. Like, for example, let's say Rhea and friends go to some little kingdom or duchy, and some of the actions they have there can actually affect that quote-unquote zone. So one idea I have is like, okay, I can't see. How do I word this in a way I can say this without not doing anything? Let's say we have a zone, right? This zone has two different endings, for example. The zone is ruled by Jeff, or it's ruled by Bob, or it's maybe a third option is anarchy, right? For whatever reason. Well, let's say those are the three big options at the end. So basically when you complete that zone, like, that's going to be that zone. So in the first part of the game, you go there, you make those decisions, and that's kind of like, you leave the zone as like, I did that to that zone. And then let's say you have to go back to that zone some point later in the game, because, you know, there's a quest to return there, there's an item or an artifact, a holy relic for the Celestial Order that you need to recover or something like that. And then you get to see some of the changes based on that, and that can affect that zone. It's basically compartmentalization. Because the real choice is, can you make every decision matter? Yes, you can. Every decision generally matters in a game, just varying degrees. It's like, okay, how much does it actually matter? Is it just like the character says something different to you because you said no instead of yes? Does that really do anything? Maybe not so much. It's more of an immersion factor. But it's like, in this case, it's more like, okay, it's kind of changes maybe some of the quests. Some of the characters you interact with are different, or maybe not there the next time around. So it's not going to say, like, that's, like, every zone, because that'd be absurd, but, like, that's one thing I definitely want to do, is have zones where you can have some sort of, and that gives a lot of replay value, but that's also just cool because it makes you feel like your party has actually had an impact on the world, on the actual duchies, baronies, and various dukedoms and kingdoms of this sort of, like, extremely late antiquity world. It's like almost like antiquity never ended. But not quite, you know? Times have moved on. It's interesting. It's hard to nail down. It's hard to talk about too much without revealing too much. It's like a fine line you have to sort of tiptoe on, and you want to give information, but you can't give too much. I know you guys know what I mean. It's a dreadful thing. It's like a surprise for a cousin or something, or a relative. And it's like, I don't want to give too much, but I want to show. But that, I feel, is more than enough. If you have further questions, though, you can ask in the comments, though it might be more prudent to actually not do that in the comments, because it's going to... Actually, I would almost recommend against that. You're better off joining the Discord server and just asking me directly there through the Legends of Terrestira chat. Because if you ask me directly through there, I can actually get back to you. We can actually have a more sustained conversation, rather than just, like, you know, one response after, like, a day or maybe a week or a month, depending on you know, how far down the line it is. It's a lot easier there. But I hope you guys have been having a fantastic year. We've been doing really well, and I hope you guys had a fantastic Christmas and holiday season or whatever. And this has been a great year for us, a fantastic year, in fact. It's actually incredible how well this year went for us. We are just smashing into this year like it's like the roaring 20s. Fantastic. I'm just hoping that next year can maintain this level, if not succeed. That would be spectacular. Absolutely spectacular. But I'm more than impressed with the team and their performance and how far and how much progress we've made. I can't wait to show off the combat build when we get way down the line, but we're getting there. We are getting there. Anyways, you guys have yourself a fantastic day. We will catch you in the next video. But before I do that, we're going to pop over to Cash's stream so you can see it's twitch.tv/Cashew, our wonderful animator. And he is currently working on a Nephiric Shaman, an Earth Shaman. The Nephiric Horde is one of the factions who I will no need to keep this a secret, but the Astrian Empire and the Nephiric Horde have been at war for a very long time, off and on. And the Nephiric Horde has gotten the better of the Astrian Empire. The Eternal Star Empire has not fared well. Not fared well in the slightest. It might have to do with the fact that, if you notice, Rhea standing next to this guy, maybe they could use better armor. I'm kidding. Most of the Astrian Imperial Legionaries, or the more like the House Legion, sorry. They don't really have the Imperial Army anymore. I keep forgetting the timeline. The Imperial Army doesn't really do stuff anymore. The House Legions, on the other hand, generally, depending on the house, of course, are better equipped than Rhea. But then again, that's ceremonious. That's a more ceremonious outfit than an actual combat outfit. So, yeah. Well, that's one other thing I wanted to actually mention. One thing that kind of makes me sad, actually, is like... So, one thing I learned really quickly when we're doing these sprites and stuff is, it was like, I wanted to have, originally, like, you could get different clothing. So, Rhea can actually be equipped with better armor and stuff. She, unfortunately, like, can we show that on the character sprite? Animation costs would actually go astronomically up because of how many animations are in the game. Like, how many unique ones. Like, let me show you for just a quick example here. Hold on. This always makes me sad, by the way. Here, I'll pull this sprite up. This is an older variant of Celeste, but this is what I mean. Like, she has a few different variations, or 2 different variations of herself. Or is that 2? No, that's technically 1. Because this would be, let's pretend this is the base one, then you have one other one. Some characters have multiple variants based on, you know, if, like, times change, like, let's say Rhea and Aya and Ezra go to Cardovia, or the Kingdom of Lane, someplace north, or maybe the far-flung nation of Mando. If they went to those places, because it's fucking cold, they would, it would look silly in their outfits. So, when it becomes more, like, story reason for it to actually have a new sprite, that's when I kind of want to actually buy the thousands of dollars worth of other variants for clothing. Oh, it's not cheap. But by God, is it worth it, though. By God. But, yeah. And the reason is just because you have the different... I'm just trying to find the other animation, and it's taking me way longer than I would really honestly like. Here we go. So, like, for example, the attack animations, like, here Rhea is... This is when she received damage. So she, like, you know, but she's not knocked out. And then the second variant of this animation is actually the knockout animation. Like, she's been incapacitated. Or if you want to pretend, murdercated. That works too. Just like we have the different variants of the portraits as well. Based on their health level or whether they're casting a spell. Because for lower reasons, their eyes do some weeaboo-y glow nonsense. Mostly because it looks friggin' cool. But that's about it. There's I did write more behind why it does that. But let's be honest, the real reason was very much a design choice. No point lying. It just looks good. And if it looks good, god damn it is good. But yeah, also they're animated, by the way. I just don't have all of them, all the variants, like, right on my, you know, task here. Or I'm able to just quickly snip them. But, which they're fucking cool, though. Jesus Christ. But yeah, that kind of wraps up this video. Nice little ramble, 30 minutes. I think that's good. Anyways, folks, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. I will link Cash's stream in the or Twitch in the description and the comments if you want to take a look. He streams quite regularly. Just feel free to ask him if you're not interested in watching what he's doing at the moment. Be like, hey, when do you stream the sprite art? Or maybe, you know, you want to give Cash some love. He does do a lot for us. He earns his pay, and he gives us the best work. So seriously, give him some love. If you could for me. I would really appreciate that, guys. I would. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a great week so far. I know it's we're just hitting off a new week already, but yeah, hopefully we'll be continuing the work we are. As we get closer though to finishing the builds and starting to wrap them up, we're gonna do a lot more in the means of like showing it. But there's one other caveat I need to discuss here, actually. See, there's so many things to talk about, like it's hard to figure out which one to talk about. So I should have wrote it down, but I figured my brain could have figured it out. It barely did. So I'm going to show you one thing, and this is only from currently because we're basically about to launch these, but these guys get early access to this. So this is a one-time early access thing that everyone else gets access to. So if you've ever once donated, or not only donated, but if you've also done, what's the word? If you boost our Discord server, so if you are helping boost our server, you are eligible to be in the Chamber of Squeakers room, which is basically an early access room, which is actually finally getting updated with actual content. So here's some of the new ranks, by the way, for Sulfur Miner, Bubble Cultist. This is when we had this, so they got to see it a little bit early. It's just basically you get to see things a little bit early before other people, which I think is quite nice. I'm not going to show any more, but here's the Disciple of Squeak. You can see one of our new artists. I really like. He's done a fantastic job, Indio. He's done a fantastic job of updating our rank, so we're actually getting around to finally getting the new ranks. If you haven't seen already, let me actually go and get this for you. We have a new channel banner, which I think some of you have noticed. If you look at our channel homepage, you're like, oh my god, you do have a new channel banner. Because we do. That's by Indio, so thanks to all the donations you guys give us, all the support, we've been able to continually update new art assets for the channel as well as the game. Even if we don't get donations, it's not a big deal, by the way. I will do it myself if need be. It just helps out. It will not stop any of the progress because my heart is in this. My heart is set on this, so I'll be working on it. So don't feel pressured. I know some of you guys make me feel really bad. You don't have to give anything. You don't need to give anything. The only thing that I don't have anything to ask of you, actually. The fact that you're interested is more than enough. I couldn't even ask for that. The fact that you guys are interested is big enough. I'm sorry, that art's so cool. I like it so much. It's really great, really great. I love how sping. It's great, fantastic, fantastic. Absolutely adore it. But yes, if you would, if you've ever supported the channel, if you've ever donated once, even if it was just $1, even if it was just a little bit, even if you just, you know, or you did the Twitch Primes or whatever, or you did anything beyond subscribing, you can have access to this room, the Chamber of Squeakers. If you support this room, if you help the server and you boost it, or you've done it in the past and you have a receipt for it, DM me the receipt. You have access to this room. You'll also be given early access to, you'll be part of the tester program if you want to join that. So you guys will be actually the first to be offered that. I talked with the team and they're okay with that as well. I figured they would be. So if you've supported, like, the Palatina Guard, Pretenders, all you guys, Sniper Lemon, Yaska, Boag, Ignatius, Rev Grey Boy, Vulpus, Septinsky, you guys are also part of the early testers program as well. So when we actually start opening up for testing, when we need help, because we will need your help with testing. So if you are interested in helping us make the best game possible, and you'd like to give us feedback so we can make course corrections, because we're going to need your help, that would be awesome. That would be really awesome. Then that way we could make the game better and make the spells and abilities feel even better. Because when we work on the game, we're doing our best. We're doing our absolute best to make the best thing we can, but we need your help to make sure it's quality, almost like a quality assurance, almost like yeah, basically QA. Basically, it's to ensure that the game is up to snuff, because I want this to be the best thing we can make it, and we're gonna take as long as we need to take. And so, if you guys are willing and you guys have the time, you can opt in optionally as well when that time comes as well. We will allow people on eventually, but for early testing, like super early, I'm talking about like alpha stuff, like it's not going to look pretty. It's going to be a rough bumpy ride here and there, okay? But for helping with that, like helping us test the AI so we can make it do the things we want, for example, like stacking up on certain things. So if a character goes in a building and one of your characters in a building, like I want the AI to not just go in one at a time like a bumbling idiot. Like I want them to stack up and like actually like breach and clear. Antiquity, yeah, that's right. Flashbang. Oh yeah, but I kind of wanted to like do stuff like that to make it more, what's the word? Make it more scripted. So there's different scripts for it to run on, so we get a more higher level of experience. So the AI does more interesting things rather than just like bumble its way into you, and prioritize and make it nasty. Make it snipe those little waifus casting spells. Make it absolutely murder them, because it needs to be a tough bot. Isn't the right little AI, little brain dead thing? He's like, help, my brain too tiny. It'll get bigger with time, damn it. But yes, if you guys want to pop into the Discord server, we'd appreciate that. And if you have ever supported us, you have access to the Chamber of Squeakers. Again, just send me a DM. I'm Kibs or Bubs. Take a screen cap of your receipt. Black out your real name, black out your last name, or any personal data or information. Obviously, be sure to do that. If you're supporting us on YouTube, membership as well, Discord, or not Discord, sorry, Patreon, Subscribestar, or Twitch, you have access. So make sure you get advantage of that. Why do I make a video also mentioning that? Because not everybody has gotten into this room, and you have every right to be in this room. You get to see really cool art, and you get to even there'll be more stuff too. So right now it's only early access to like thumbnails and art. When Bubbles and I finish the queued games we have now, we're gonna actually start allowing. It's not gonna be everyone gets to pick, because I know how that would end. It ended with me playing Fire Warrior, but we'll set up some sort of like, hey, do you guys want us to play, I don't know, the Rome 1 or Rome 2 or something? I don't know. That's just an example. And then you'd be like, oh yeah, can you play this nation? And you'll even get to influence that. So you can get a little bit more control. I want to add more and more benefits. This is a lifetime, by the way. I feel like I'm fucking salesman now, and now I'm gonna vomit. If you've only donated $1 and you donated $1 months ago, you have a lifetime access to this. Just like you have lifetime access to life. Just I think. I'm pretty sure. Like if you've done anything like that, that's permanent. Even if it was $1, even if it was a year ago or a month ago and you have the receipt, you have permanent access to this chamber. And if, let's say, this Discord gets down, whatever proxy way we set it up in the future, you have permanent access to that as well, assuming it doesn't get shut down. You never know. Discord's dumb. They've done it before. They've accidentally yeeted our server once. I wouldn't be surprised if they accidentally did it again. Happened once again and will happen again. Oh, big sad. But anyways, guys, I hope you guys have a fantastic day. And we'll catch you in the stream that'll be airing soon. I'm sorry, I just ramble on. I am really very much a Minnesotan. Okay, we are terrible at saying goodbye. And I thought I was getting better, and I think I spent like 15 minutes saying goodbye. I'm just gonna go. Goodbye.